Hello everyone and welcome to this channel. Today we're going to be talking about the newest fragrance releases that have been announced within the past week. This is a weekly series that I do here on this channel. Every Monday we talk about what's new on the market, we talk about the pros and cons, and I really find this series quite fascinating because it enables me to not only talk to you about what's new, but also to be very analytical about what we need to add and what we don't need to add to our collections. This is a running theme on my channel. This is why I have my fragrance expense tracker, where I encourage you to keep track of what's coming in to your collection, how much you're spending. And yeah, it's just something that I love to do here. So if you're new, definitely consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. But if this is your first time watching, hello, my name is Anya. I do videos here 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. And I also publish videos on TikTok and Instagram under the username ANECHKAFRAGRANCES. If you want to follow me on those social media platforms, you are welcome to do so. So we have quite a lot here to talk about from all different sources, all different price points, all different categories. So let's get into it. Okay, so first we have a new release by Imaginary Authors. This is another one of their collaborations with Salt and Straw. If you don't know, Salt and Straw is an ice cream company, and so they've done collaborations with Imaginary Authors that end up in fragrances that are very gourmand leaning. So this is the latest collaboration like this. So this is called Dipped in Chocolate. This is a unisex fragrance. It's already available, and this perfume has notes of chocolate and cardamom at the top, a heart of vanilla cream, and then a base of sandalwood, benzoin, Sumatra, and a whiff of waffle cone. If you don't know, a whiff of waffle cone is one of their signature scents. It's a very gourmand, heavy waffle cone ice cream caramel scent with a bit of salt. It's a fascinating perfume. If you love gourmand fragrances, you should definitely try that out. But this looks like it'll be straight up chocolate. So Imaginary Authors always attaches a little bit of literary elements to their fragrance releases, and in this case they're inspired by classic novels and the darkness within them. That's my summary from the press briefing, and if you want to, you can definitely check on line to see what their interpretation of this fragrance is. But I can definitely say that while this is a fragrance that looks really exciting, like, I mean, the bottle looks really beautiful, I love the way they've marketed this, I'm very likely not going to be getting this because it is a chocolate scent, and personally I already have so many chocolate perfumes to go through. I really don't need another perfume that's chocolate focused. So yeah. We also have a new release that's been teased by Kayali and Mona Katan. If you want to hear more about this, I would definitely recommend checking out my TikTok and Instagram accounts. There I'm definitely able to have a faster turnaround when it comes to talking about new releases, because a lot of these YouTube videos, in fact most of them, are pre-filmed in advance. So if you want to hear more about this release throughout the week, I expect we'll see more information. Follow me on those social media platforms, especially TikTok. But this is a new release that's been announced by Kayali and Mona Katan. This looks like it'll be a gourmand fragrance. We have some hints saying that there will be marshmallow in this perfume, and this may be a play off of their original pistachio gelato fragrance that I personally really, really love. I think that's a very unique take on a pistachio perfume, and I think it's one of their best releases. So I'm excited to see how this will be. I'm excited to see more about this fragrance. The teaser video was very interesting and very cute, and I will say this, I would love, maybe I'll focus this for either a longer form video on here or I'll put it on one of my other accounts. But I'm actually really fascinated by the way Kayali do their marketing, because if you notice, their turnaround time for fragrances is pretty fast compared to a lot of other brands. But unlike a lot of other brands who release fragrances in quick succession, each release from Kayali is still met with a lot of positive feedback. I mean, yes, they do get negative press sometimes, but people get really excited about their releases, and consistently so. So I have my theories about why that is. So I'd love to do a little bit of a study on that. So you might see that coming up, so keep your eyes peeled. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for this. Yeah, I love the way they do their marketing, the way they do their, how it's so well thought out and so interesting. As someone who is into, media and creativity and the marketing of everything. Like I find this really fascinating for me personally. It's me from the future. Hello. A few hours after I stopped filming initially, we received an update about the notes that are going to be in this new Kayali release. So I want to hop back on here to film this little segment so you have the most up-to-date information that I can provide you possible. But this perfume will have notes or keynotes of freesia tea, strawberry milkshake, pink marshmallows, creamy coconut pie, whipped vanilla, and pink musk pound cake. Based on these notes, it sounds absolutely delicious. I'm sure we'll have more notes in a more complete scent pyramid soon, but so far this still is literally all we have, or this video is literally all we have regarding the notes. I'm sure there'll probably be some updated resources tomorrow when I start editing and posting this, but so far this is the latest information I have. I do want to take this opportunity to kind of go into a new release that I also spotted by Lorenzo Pazzaglia. Pazzaglia, I think that's how you pronounce it. But this is a new launch of two fragrances from the brand. If you don't know Lorenzo Pazzaglia, he is known for some really high impact gourmands. I'm not super familiar with his brand. I have tried some of the fragrances. Some of the fragrances are really lovely, but some of those fragrances are a little bit too sweet for my taste. So for me, like my experience with the brand kind of leans either way. Sometimes I really like what they have, sometimes I'm not too keen on it, but they have two new fragrances, Dark Florum and Gasso Leather. So Dark Florum is a juicy, citrusy, and sweet perfume with a hint of spiciness. It features top notes of rosemary, pink pepper, petitgrain, elemi, lemon, bitter orange, saffron, cinnamon, and cloves, amid of distilled rum, dates, exotic fruits, neroli, robina, jasmine, patchouli, iris, orris root, and ylang ylang, and then a base of sandalwood, vetiver, cedarwood, patchouli, tonka bean, amber, musk, cane sugar, benzoin, oak barrel wood, and rosewood. On the other hand, Gasso Leather is a celebration of leather and smoky nuances associated with it. So this perfume will have top notes of bergamot, smoky accents, metallic notes, a gasoline accord, elemi, benzoin, raspberry, and a new plastic note. The mid notes will include sage, narcissus, cypriol, nagarmotha, ylang ylang, frangipani, Tuscan leather, Indian cashmere, and oak moss. And then the base will be a vanilla, leather accords, cedarwood, oud, patchouli, amber, musk, and pine resin. So I have a few thoughts on this release. The first thing is I'm actually really kind of intrigued by this like update to the bottle design. The bottle design of Lorenzo Pazzaglia, for me, considering how they're pricing their fragrances, it's always kind of been, if I'm being honest, the bottle design has not been up to par with how much they're pricing the fragrances at. I think if you're going to charge a certain amount for your fragrances and you're going to release them in the size that they're releasing them, they really should either be less expensive or you should update the bottle design to be a little bit more high end in association with the pricing. But I do like how these bottles do look more high end. They look more luxurious. You have the logo stamped on the top of the bottle. And I do think that this is a good step for the brand. I am keen on seeing and smelling these new releases in person at Scent Explore. I imagine they'll have the releases available there. So I'll definitely stop by the booth and smell these fragrances and update you on my thoughts. But based on the notes, I'm actually kind of interested in trying these out. So yeah, I'm interested in trying them. We'll see how it goes. But all in all, I do think that this is a good direction for the brand so far. We also have a new release from Memo that just dropped right after I finished filming this morning's video. This is what happens when I film videos early Sunday morning. Now it's Sunday afternoon and we have a few new releases that have dropped, but it's okay. I'm here, I'm ready to film. So we have Cassiopeia, Rose, and this is from Memo. This will have top notes of pink pepper, olibanum, and rose, a mid note of rose, and then a base of tonka bean, vanilla, benzoin, musk, and ambrofix. So I feel like Memo Oh my gosh, I might get like so much heat for this. Memo is one of those brands that I'm not like always too keen on trying out. There's nothing in their line that's spoken to me. And it's interesting because I think I said the same thing about Memo a few months ago. And someone in the comment section got so offended. They're like, oh, Memo works with natural ingredients. You couldn't possibly know the quality of Memo with all the cheap Middle Eastern fragrances that you recommend. And I'm like thinking inside my head, first of all, there's nothing wrong with fragrances that might be a little bit more affordable than what you prefer. Second of all, a lot of really expensive niche brands actually do not use raw materials. They use synthetic materials. That's that's pretty normal. I mean, I'm not a chemist, but not every single perfume will include raw materials, and raw materials aren't necessarily always going to be better than man-made. So, with that being said, I will say if you're a fan of Memo, of course, this is something that I would love to bring to your attention. I love to talk about fragrance news, but at the same time, I'm going to be honest. If a brand is not my cup of tea, if a brand is not something that speaks to me, I'm not going to spend my money and sit here and tell you that this is something that I will be interested in getting for myself. So that's my 2 cents on that. But yeah, that's it for this segment. I'm now going to take you back in time to me filming this morning. So let's talk about some new releases at that point. Another really fascinating release is by Versace. This is a new flanker of their Eros perfume. This will be exclusively available in the Middle East, even though I do think it might come to the US sometime next year. But for now, it's exclusively available in the Middle East. So this is not accessible for us here in the States, but this is Eros Najim, and this is a perfume that has notes of Italian mandarin at the top, a heart of cardamom and oud wood, and then a base of patchouli, vetiver, and incense. I'm not gonna lie, I am very impressed by the turnaround on these Versace Eros fragrances. I have not always, in fact, let me correct myself. I have been a little bit of a hater when it comes to the Eros line by Versace. The only one that I really, really like is Eros Energy, the one that comes in the bright yellow bottle. That one I think is fantastic. The other ones, I think the red one is okay. The blue one I just do not like. I feel like Eros to me, I think one of the reasons I might be so biased about it is Eros to me makes me think of like, you know, the kind of F-boy kind of guy. And yes, like I probably shouldn't judge a fragrance by the type of guy I see wear it in my head, but that's my own biases. I'm very open about that. And if I say I don't like a particular perfume and you should get something else, it's just because in my opinion, I think if you're going to spend money on a fragrance, you might as well do something that's like, you might as well try something that's like extra special. And for the same price, you can get a lot of other really interesting options. So, yeah, I don't believe just because a fragrance is super, super popular, that makes it like the go-to, or it should be the go-to for everyone. I find that sometimes if you're spending a lot of money on something, you might as well spend that same money on something that like, is a little bit unique and special. So I'm not trying to tell anyone to spend their money on whatever, but that's why I like to talk about a little bit of that on my channel here. But all in all, I'm actually really intrigued by this. I'm excited to smell it once it comes into the States. Hopefully, I'm sure it will. But yeah, I'm really impressed with what Versace has been doing with these Euros fragrances. I think they're really starting to be more innovative, and yeah, I'm excited to see this perfume. I won't be getting it myself, but I'm happy that they came out with it. So speaking of masculine fragrances, we have a new perfume by Givenchy. Perfume, cologne, fragrance, to me is interchangeable sometimes. But this is Gentleman Original 2024, and this perfume is already available on the Givenchy website. And this is a revamped packaging version of their original fragrance. This fragrance was originally launched in 1975 by Hubert de Givenchy himself. And yeah, it's a fragrance that plays with notes of leather, so it's a little bit animalic, but the full scent pyramid includes top notes of tarragon essence, cinnamon essence, a heart of patchouli essence, vetiver essence, and then a base of Russian leather accord. I am I'm not someone who wears masculine fragrances a lot. Some of the fragrances I recommend are marketed towards men, but I wear them and I love them. But the majority of my collection is unisex, feminine leaning. Um, but this is actually makes me kind of think that there are a lot of kind of vintage men's fragrances that don't really get a lot of press or a lot of attention. And as someone who leans more feminine, I talk about the feminine leaning versions of some of those scents, but I don't really like. I haven't really delved into vintage men's fragrances. I mean, I know of a few, but that would be fun to explore. So that's what made me think of, that's what I think about when I look at this. Yeah, I mean, is this something I'm going to get? No, but I think it's interesting. If you're a guy who likes, something more refined, something more old school, this might be a fun one to try. New from Xerjoff, we have Louis XV 1722. This perfume will be launched in 2025, and this fragrance includes notes of plum, saffron, champagne, and grapefruit, a mid of cocoa, coffee, rose, hazelnut, and lavender, and then a base of cashmere, sandalwood, white musk, incense, and leather. Obviously, this does take inspiration from Louis XV and Versailles, which is why it's named as such, and Versailles is, as many of you already know, pretty much synonymous with Louis XV and French nobility and the opulence around that era. And it's interesting how Versailles is pretty much embedded into the popular imagination as something that was so glamorous and amazing, when in reality, the people in Versailles barely bathed, if at all, and it likely stank. But one of the reasons, or one of the ways they tried to counteract that was not by bathing, but by basically marinating themselves in fragrances. And Louis XV's mistress, I believe, Madame de Pompadour, that's what she was called, she was super interested in fragrances. And I probably should do a video on her because I'm like a little bit of a history nerd, and it would be fun to talk about like history and perfume. I'm getting so inspired now. Okay, yeah, it'll be backtrack. So anyway, yeah, Madame de Pompadour, the Marchioness of something something, she was super into fragrances. So this is also inspired by her in a way, because I think she was one of the first people in the French court to really like take her fragrances like super super seriously. Like, she had like glass bottles, like very, she basically made it like a whole thing. And also the other reason why they have the champagne note in this fragrance is because champagne was really popularized around the time of Louis XV's reign at the French court. So there are a lot of little Easter eggs in this release that, as someone who's super interested in history, I find really fascinating. Xerjoff in general, they've been on my wish list forever. They're one of the fragrance houses that I really appreciate, I really love from afar. I have so many samples from them, and at one point I should probably just like go through some of my favorites, because there are a few Xerjoff perfumes that I'm like, I would love to own them one day, but not yet. Yeah, Xerjoff, I love the brand. I love their releases. They have such, I mean, they're so iconic. They're amazing. I'm interested in this release. I'd be interested in smelling it. I'm wondering if they put grapefruit in here because citruses were also considered a symbol of luxury and opulence, for the reigning class of Europe at the time. So yeah, anyway, as a history nerd, I love this kind of stuff. I love it when there's a kind of a historic significance to modern releases like this. It makes me really excited as someone who's already really into history. We have a few new releases in the Middle Eastern category. In case you don't know, Beauty World just happened in Dubai, and this is one of the biggest fragrance expos of the year. It's probably the biggest, I believe, in Dubai. And there were a few new releases that were announced. I didn't really get to see a lot of notes, so I'm going to talk about what I can find regarding notes. Like if they have notes released, I'm going to talk about them. Otherwise, I don't really see the point of just flashing a picture on the screen if I can't tell you like like if I can't give you any context. But we have two new releases from Aroma, and this is going to be Lionheart for men and women. So we have two launches. They're a little bit different. So the feminine version has top notes of lavender and vanilla, a mid of cacao and ginger, and then a base of vanilla absolute. And then the masculine version has top notes of lavender and mint, a heart of benzoin and vanilla, and then a base of honey, tonka bean, and tobacco. I will say this, when it comes to the tobacco notes, sometimes I'm very sensitive to it. Sometimes tobacco to me can lean a little bit too sickly sweet, but I'm curious to hear how, or curious to see how it'll smell here. But I definitely can say I am very interested in the feminine version here. I love ginger and fragrances. I love cacao. Who doesn't love a vanilla? So this looks like it'll be a fun release. I'm looking forward to perhaps trying it out. So Anna Sui is celebrating 25 years as a fragrance house, and in commemoration of this, they are launching a collection of 5 fragrances. Each of these has been crafted by the renowned Jerome Epinette, and let's go down the list. So first, we have Dew Fields. This is a refreshing and energetic scent with top notes of green tea, black currant, and lemon, a heart of peony, cyclamen, and rose, and then a base of sandalwood and pink musk. Next, Electric Whisper is a little bit more playful with top notes of bergamot, black currant, and pink pepper, a mid of rose, magnolia, lychee, and guava, and then a base of vetiver, ambroxan, and patchouli. And then it basically finishes with some pink sugar. Mystic Luna is a fragrance with top notes of bergamot and juniper berries, a heart of grass, rose, and jasmine, and then a base of ambroxan and amber. Thorn of a Rose is a fragrance with a top of mandarin and pink pepper, rose and violet in the heart, and then base of incense and patchouli. Utopia Mist is a fragrance that opens with saffron and pink pepper, as well as yuzu, a mid of raspberry flowers, Tuscan orris, and midnight violet, and then a base of tonka bean, cashmere wood, and pink sugar. So, these are available in the 50 milliliter size, and Anisu is really interesting, or Anisui Anisu. I'm not sure which one it is. If I'm mispronouncing it, please forgive me. But they're known for creating these like really like fantasy inspired perfumes, and while I always kind of like get entertained by looking at the fragrances, they're not necessarily like my style or like what I look for when it comes to perfumes. I get what they're going for, but it's just not my cup of tea, so it's not something I'm super into. Um, but yeah, I mean, are you really interested in Anna Sui fragrances? Because first of all, like, when I look at some of these notes, I find them really intriguing, specifically the juniper berry one. That sounds really exciting. But yeah, I don't really know too much about, I haven't really smelled too much of Anna Sui fragrances, so I can't really comment on what I think about them. But I think this is a fun release. But if I'm being honest, I mean, I kind of wish they had gone like a little bit more fantasy with the bottle design. And I only say that because I've seen what they've done in the past. Like their bottle designs have been super, super opulent, and I think pretty obvious that those bottle designs are custom. This is kind of playing it a little bit safe, and the only reason I'm making this comment is because we've seen what Anisu can do as like a brand before, and this is looking a little bit pared down. So I wish they had gone a little bit more opulent with these designs, but I also recognize that the more custom facets are added to packaging or to a bottle design, the more expensive a fragrance is to produce. So I recognize that it might not have been fiscally practical for them to go that route. But yeah, are you a fan of Anisu fragrances? And what do you think about the bottle design? Do you think it's nice that they're kind of going for something simple? Because realistically, this would probably be easier to store and access than their other more extreme fragrance bottle designs. But I mean, I don't know. Let me know what you think, because I feel like they could have done a little bit more extra, but then again, like I said, I understand why they did not. We have 3 new fragrances by Yves Saint Laurent. It looks like some of these are not necessarily new fragrances, but they're new versions of fragrances they've already had in the house. The first is Parisienne EDP. This fragrance will have top notes of blackberry and vinyl, a heart of rose, violet, and peony, and then a base of vetiver, patchouli, and sandalwood. Next, Cinema is a fragrance with top notes of mimosa and jasmine, a heart of peach and mandarin, and then a base of amber and sandalwood. Finally, Elle is a perfume with top notes of pink pepper, a mid of peony, and then a base of patchouli. So it does look like all of these fragrances are taking inspiration from previous releases that Yves Saint Laurent has done. So they're essentially just, reintroducing these fragrances. Yeah, I mean, they seem interesting. I don't know if I have like anything significant to say about them other than the fact that the first fragrance with the vinyl note is really intriguing to me. I don't know why this is. I mean, I kind of feel like I know a little bit, but whenever I see vinyl in a fragrance, I'm always kind of super intrigued by it because it gives fragrances a bit of an edginess that I appreciate. Because at this point, I mean, okay, I like fragrances to be worn, and I like fragrances for the sake of collection. But more than that, I see fragrances as an accessory. So, like with many accessories, sometimes they can add something very new and unique to an outfit. So, when I see a fragrance with the note of vinyl, I mean, I kind of think in my head there's going to be kind of like a little bit artificial smelling, but in an interesting way. For example, Biano Raleigh is a brand that's based in Miami, and they have this I forget what it's called, but it's like this like a pink and red fragrance with the note of vinyl combined with peony. A lot of people don't like that. I got a sample of it and I really like it. So my opinion might be a little bit unpopular, and that's totally okay. But that's the one that I'm actually the most interested in. I don't know when this will be, or yeah, it looks like they're available on the website, but I don't know if they're available in like Sephora or Ulta or where else. The size on this is going to be 80 milliliters per each one of these. So yeah, I mean, that's my little note of there. I mean, yeah, unpopular opinion. I like the note of vinyl. And a lot of you might disagree with me, and that is okay. But I like it. Okay, so we have some new, this is not necessarily perfume, but this is a new launch from Navitus in the form of candles. So yes, they're launching candles. And I mean, okay, let's go into the sense that they're converting into candles first. So they have Amour Infinite, Ambrosia Imperial, and then Mahni Cassonade. So, yeah, just to summarize, Ambrosia Imperial is a fragrance that features banana, orange, cinnamon, davana, and then a whipped cream, saffron, vanilla, caramel, benzoin, and musk as well. A more infinite is a fragrance with, or is a perfume with notes of pineapple, pomegranate, red fruits, Turkish pink rose, white chocolate, and sandalwood. And then finally, Mahni Cassonade is a fragrance with vanilla ice cream, brown sugar, toffee, and amberwood. So the pricing of this will be for one full-size candle, $95, and then they have a set of 3 minis for $95. So if you want to get the mini size, that's $95 for, I think, 8 grams. That's the size. Or sorry, 80 grams. Obviously, there's a market for high-end fragrances or high-end candles, sorry. So that's what they're trying to cater to, I believe. But here's the thing. I don't see a problem with charging this much for candles because while I wouldn't necessarily pay that, I know a few people that likely would like to have a candle version of this. And I do think that the set of 3 would be an amazing gift for the holidays. Like I can easily see that as being a wonderful option. Like I would definitely get the set. But the only caveat that I have with this has to do with the marketing. And I feel like if you're charging $95 for a full-size candle, you should not be using AI generated images. And to me, this looks AI generated. Allegedly, I'm assuming this is AI generated. This is my opinion. It might not be, again, alleged, but I think if you're trying to cater towards that high end customer, you need to have marketing that aligns with that. You don't This to me is kind of throwing in the towel and creating something that's inexpensive because AI is very inexpensive to use and is practically free. And you could have done a photo shoot with this. I understand that this is probably pre-production. they're likely just rolling these out, or they're likely still producing them, and they probably wanted to come out with these quickly. But I definitely wish that they had come out with this in a more thoughtful way and actually done a real photo shoot, because this looks like low effort, and if you're charging this much, you should not be going for low effort, in my personal opinion. So we have new information about the Marissa Zappas fragrance that I talked about last week. So this is a perfume called Carnival of Souls. It has already launched, and it has notes of mimosa cream, violet, saffron, amber, patchouli, vanilla, incense, and musk. Personally, I love Marissa Zappas fragrances. I think that they're so creative and interesting. This is definitely something I'm interested in trying out for myself. So that's that on that. And also, I definitely, if you're interested in like film or creativity, look into the launch of this, because they basically paired this fragrance launch with a movie screening. So I think that was super creative and interesting. So there's that. All right, so that's all I have time to talk about today. Those were the releases I wanted to spotlight. Let me know, what did you think of these new launches? Some of them are quite exciting, so I am very interested in smelling these and trying some of these fragrances out. But let me know, what did you think? And if you want to keep up to date about what's coming out throughout the week, definitely follow me on my other social media platforms and subscribe to this channel so you can keep up to date with everything that's going on. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.